Welcome to the Ready Room Podcast by TBR Gunworks. I'm Josh.
I'm Caroline.
And today we're going to be talking about why 10mm is awesome. And that's the whole topic.
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
That's it. So, before we get started, if you're watching on YouTube, first of all, we're sorry we're a little late. We had some technical difficulties. The computer decided to have a stroke, and that's fun. But if you're watching on YouTube Live, please comment. Please have some fun in the chat. We enjoy that. Please like and subscribe and share if at all possible. If you like the content, please share. It helps out so much that it's not funny.
Yes.
If you're listening on Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, or Google Podcast, I think that's all the places we're on right now.
I think so.
This episode will be out a day late as opposed to when it's recorded live on YouTube. But please listen there if you have those and prefer those while you're driving or whatever. Leave a review where possible. A lot of websites don't let you leave reviews like Spotify for some unknown reason. But if it's possible, please do that.
We are on Facebook now.
We are on Facebook now. That's
As of today.
That's something, I guess. I guess we're just appealing to the 50-year-old Karens
Yes.
who don't like guns. Okay, so 10mm. Caroline, do we have a 10mm gun?
We do not.
We do not.
Unfortunately.
Very unfortunate. I'm broke. I am always broke. So I haven't bought a new gun in quite a while. But what is your favorite handgun to shoot in the house? I'm not sure if you're going to answer the way I think you're going to answer.
It's tough because I really like the 1911, but I also really like my Canic.
Canic is nice. She has the Combat Elite or Elite Combat. I forget what goes first.
I think it's Combat Elite.
I think you're right. The full-size 9mm Canic TP9. It's all TP9s, I think, but it's the, nice FDE optics cut already. One of the best striker triggers in the market. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I love it.
But you would say the 1911's up there.
Oh yeah, no,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay, so the 1911's up there on handguns in the house she likes shooting. So that's a 45 1911, 45 ACP by SIG. It's the Emperor Scorpion. It's the SIG Emperor Scorpion that she got me for Christmas
I bought that
one year.
I should know.
Yeah, you should know. You bought it. Straight up. And I'm really sad, but also really excited. It was funny, like the wife is buying you this, so it's like, oh my God, the wife's buying him a 1911. That's amazing. But also, why couldn't he come buy it?
Because it was a Christmas present.
It was a Christmas present. And hands down the
I had
best.
you convinced for a little while that you were getting an HK. And then
I did. I thought she was buying me the VP9.
And then I just couldn't contain myself once I actually got it.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, she had it for like 3 days, and she's like, no, you have to have this gun.
yeah.
You can't wait till Christmas.
No. I couldn't wait till Christmas.
But anyways, that 1911 is not a 10mm. There are lots of 10mm 1911s on the market now, and most of them are really, really nice. Thanks for that sound.
Sorry.
Appreciate you.
Sorry.
You're a great co-host.
I know. I'm doing my best.
The worst. So we're gonna go over a brief history of the 10mm cartridge, and if you want to, what I think is slightly more in depth, but I may be misremembering. It's been a couple years since I've watched it, but Military Arms Channel has an entire episode dedicated to the 10mm cartridge. It's been a while. I think I watched it the day it came out. I haven't seen it since then.
I think I've seen like half of it.
Yeah.
Like on my way to work or something.
I think he did it because he was always talking about how good 10mm was, and he did an explanation of why he. And I think he went into the history. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've seen it, but we're going to go into a brief history of how the 10mm came about, why it is the way it is, and then we're going to get into some in-depth information that proves why it is the way it is and why it is awesome, and then we're going to go to some conclusions and our thoughts. So to start out, the 10mm cartridge was introduced in 1983 with this really weird looking handgun that it came out alongside. I believe it was the first ever pistol chambered in 10mm now as we know it, because there was another version of 10mm beforehand, but it wasn't like good as far as I can remember. But it came out with this hammer-fired pistol called I think it was the Bren 10.
Is that still around?
No, Bren 10. Ben 10. It looked a lot like a CZ75. Like
Okay.
I don't know how they didn't get copyrighted for it. Like, or not copyrighted. What would you call it when it's maybe a patent?
Maybe.
Probably a patent. A lot of companies make CZ75 clones though, so
I was about to say if it is even patent.
yeah, I don't know. I just know that it looked a lot like the CZ75. And the handgun never took off, like that specific one, and the company went out of business. But the 10 millimeter cartridge stuck around. The gun just didn't. I kind of want to get my hands on one. I don't know if like exactly how rare they are. Like, are they a collector's item? I bet they are a collector's item now.
Yeah, just because they're not around.
Yeah, they went out of business, and it was the first gun to have 10 millimeter as a standard.
Yeah.
You know,
and most things that just aren't around anymore.
Yeah,
the prices just
even if they sucked, isn't that funny? Like even when things suck because they're rare, it's like, oh man, this thing doesn't work, but I gotta have it
for $20,000.
Yeah, exactly. So if you were alive and kicking and of conscious mind in 1986, which I was not. Neither one of us were. So slightly aging ourselves there in the opposite.
In the opposite
direction. But you probably remember the FBI Miami shootout in 1986.
I do not remember that.
See, I know about it, but only because I used to watch History Channel all the time as a kid, and they talked about it a good bit. There was a shootout between two suspects and FBI agents. I think there was about 10 FBI agents from what I can remember. I could be maybe 8 to 10. I'm not entirely sure.
It's kind of a lot, isn't
right? They've been tracking these guys for a while, from what I could tell.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing, but it's kind of funny. They get into the shootout with these two suspects, and the agents that were involved in the shooting had a couple different firearms. There were some .357 Magnum revolvers, there were some 9mm handguns, and there were 2 shotguns. Give me 1 second. I had to check on. We good? Wait, are we good?
What do you mean?
Nah, we good. I'm stupid. I thought I didn't unmute the mics.
Oh.
I was about to be so salty. So they had some 9mm handguns, some .357 revolvers, and I think 2 12-gauge shotguns. And the shootout, I don't know if it was a super long shootout. I think it was less than 30 minutes. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Which is a long time for a shootout, though.
Yeah.
Like, regardless. The suspects that were shot, that were involved in the shooting, one of them was shot. They were both shot multiple times.
Right.
Before they were quote-unquote subdued.
Subdued.
I'm just going to leave it there. We're family friendly here. Subdued. One was shot 6 times, and one was shot 12 times. And this is why
seems like bad aim, though.
I'm sure. Okay, it's a firefight.
Yeah,
adrenaline, and you're terrified for your life. One of the agents lost his gun in a car wreck as like the suspects hit his car, and his gun went because he put it in, I think, the passenger seat to have it ready because he didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, and
it flew out of the car. So the firefight starts, and he doesn't even have his gun. So that would suck. I think you just got to hide at that point the entire time. So after the suspects were subdued, they ran a toxicology test to see what drugs they were on, because it only makes sense. This guy was shot 12 times. He had to be on drugs.
Right.
Neither one of them were on any drugs at all. Like, there wasn't a single drug, one singular drug in their system, which just tells you how insane the human mind / willpower is.
Well, it's really like how insane the human body is once the mind shuts off.
Yes, I guess.
Mind goes into survival mode, and your body's like, I got it from here. Like, don't worry about it.
Monkey mode. Just go ape. So they were hit many, many times before they were subdued. So the FBI was really upset by the shootout because, 357 is a pretty stout round. 12 gauge, depending on what load you've got, can be very stout.
How far away you are.
Exactly. That's very factor dependent, but they were very upset with how the 9mm performed. They didn't think it had enough stopping power, and I'm doing air quotes for those who aren't watching but are just listening. They were not happy with the stopping power. They didn't think it was a reliable service cartridge. So they went looking for a more powerful handgun cartridge that they could...
Do you know what kind of rounds they were shooting?
I don't, and I'm sure it was a standardized load because it's the FBI and this is a service handgun. But in 1986, the research and development for 9mm heads is nowhere near what it was today.
So it was probably just like Full Metal Jacket.
I doubt it was Full Metal Jacket. I could be wrong, but I want to doubt it.
I do too, but if somebody got shot that many times...
I'm not sure, actually. That's a good question, because...
Let's see what Google has to say.
You don't need to Google it.
Well, I'm curious now.
In 1986, from then to now, we've had a lot of research and development into 9mm ammo, and that's why you see some of the best ammo on the market right now is like, you know, your Federal HSTs. Oh, that's not good. I'm sorry, the description seems to be messed up today. Federal HSTs, you know,
they're back to using 9mm now, though.
Yes, they are. Hornady critical defense is considered pretty good, although I've seen some recent reports of that not being so great. But the ammo quality and the reliable expansion you see on modern hollow point loads is just not the same. And that's where a lot of the people who think 9mm is too weak, that's where a lot of these rumors come from, is from this shootout.
Right.
They were like, oh, 9mm was weak, it couldn't stop anybody. Well, nowadays, and this is according to FBI ballistic statistics, like some of the best 9mm loads compared to some of the best 40 cal loads, 9mm outperforms it. So we'll talk about that on a different episode. We're actually planning an episode that may or may not involve that data if I can find it again.
I can't tell what it is.
Yeah.
It just tells me the guns that they used.
They could have been using FMJ. I highly doubt they were using Full Metal Jacket. So, man, I lost my train of thought because you said...
I'm sorry.
You started Googling what ammo they were...
I'm sorry. It was just like, they used 9mm. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah, we knew that.
Yeah. I
point.
asked which 9mm round they were using.
So they go into this research and they set up a program to try to replace the 9mm cartridge. And they were specifically looking for a powerful handgun cartridge. And they ended up selecting 10mm. Okay? And 10mm is dramatically more powerful than 9mm, especially most likely for those times. They tested the 9mm when they were running their testing for evaluation. They tested them in 10mm 1911s, which is awesome, and 10mm Thompson submachine guns. Did not know that was a thing.
That's interesting.
I really want one now, and I can imagine the price.
Oh no, I don't even want to think about it.
But I bet those were so fun to test, man. I'm just jealous. Like,
It's just my job. Can I just...
Well, there's no way in the world I'd ever want to work for the FBI.
No, not at all.
But man, I'd love to test. Maybe one day I could work for them just to test that.
Just for one day.
A 10mm Thompson, yes, please.
For weeks of waiting and background checks,
Nope.
just for one day of work.
Oh yeah. If it all led to me shooting a 10mm Thompson, I'd be happy with that. After a short period of time, however, they've already selected the 10mm and they deem it good. It is good.
It good.
It good, says the FBI agent.
It shoot people dead.
They deemed the full power loads that were common for the 10mm cartridge to produce too much recoil for the average agent, and specifically agents with smaller hands. I think we all know what that means.
Seems like they just needed to hold their firearm better.
And to be fair, in the 80s, the standard for, proper form for shooting handguns is nowhere near in the past 30 years, we've had so much development.
Oh, that's right.
In
It was like under here, right?
I can't say that's the FBI's way of shooting, but I've seen a lot of cops back in those days holding their handguns like they have never shot a handgun.
Yeah.
But that's because we're looking at it from today's standards where we know how to shoot a handgun properly. And
if that's the FBI, they should know how to shoot a handgun
agree they
properly.
should. And I agree that they probably just needed more practice with this handgun, whichever one it was. But either way,
that was just in their testing.
Yeah.
And they weren't used to the round. They weren't used to that much recoil.
No. Remember, they say specifically agents with smaller hands. I'm not going to say who those people are, but I think we know who those people are.
It's just more training. That's all it is.
Yes.
I
agree.
If I can shoot rounds bigger than that.
Yeah, if my 5'3", normally 130-pound wife can shoot a 1911 with full power 45s.
Yeah. No problem.
No problem. And accurately, then I don't see what the issue was here.
Especially for people who should be in better shape than I am.
So, and some people are going to be saying, well, 10mm is more powerful than 45, so your argument's invalid, and we will get to that. You're not wrong, but you're not right. So we agree. They probably just needed more training.
Because, especially going up that much more power. Like, you need more training to be efficient at it because
Yes.
it's so much different than what you had before.
Yes.
Yes.
Especially compared to the 9mm of the time.
Yeah.
Which I believe would most likely have been 115 grain. I don't know if they were using hollow points or not. I don't see them using hollow points.
It seems like it'd be too expensive for the government to spend money on.
Like, police use hollow points, but I know there's a lot of argument and debate about that, about them using it only from the uneducated people who have no idea about how firearms work and how, ammunition works.
Yeah.
And, like the Geneva Convention saying or I don't know if it's the Geneva Convention specifically, but there's a rule that the military can't use hollow points. It's deemed inhumane. So hitting someone and putting a bigger hole in them to let them die faster is more inhumane than putting them with multiple little holes
that make them die slower.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see. You don't know. You don't understand humanity.
Oh yeah, no, for
Caroline,
sure.
obviously.
For sure, obviously. A quick and more painless death is much worse than a slow and painful death.
Yes, exactly.
No, for sure.
You didn't know?
No.
Okay. Well, this is what you get for not being a considerate person.
I guess.
Okay. So, oh boy. 1911s are 45 originally.
Yeah.
And for a long, long time, from 1910, 1911-ish to the 80s, our Joes carried 1911s. And they switched to the M9. But it's not like they had terrible accuracy with the 1911s, and it wasn't like it had too much recoil.
Mm-hmm.
Like that just practice. That's what they used. They were used to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of the videos and footage of like Vietnam when they're still using the 1911. And dude, a lot of these dudes were like my wife's height and skinny. Like, I'm not saying that every soldier
Thanks
was
to the draft.
I'm not saying every soldier was a skinny little dude, but like it wasn't like you just had big burly men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they were using 1911s.
Because I mean, you're getting a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of 18, 19-year-olds aren't jacked.
Yeah.
6'3" dudes.
Because it's not all about strength; it's about form and how you shoot the gun. Anyways, they were used to using the 1911, which we can all agree has more recoil than the M9, right? So they started making some light recoil loads in 10mm to reduce the recoil. Some of those loads were actually called 10mm FBI first of all, it's cute that you had to label your light loads FBI. Like you're advertising, look guys, this is just for us. We can't handle the real loads. This is just for us. But those loads led to reliability issues.
Well, yeah.
So these guns designed.
Because it's still a heavy round with not as much powder.
Exactly, and you're still moving the same amount of mass. The handgun, the slide and everything is still being moved. So these light loads led to reliability issues, and so the FBI is just pissed at this point because they don't think they think it's too powerful to be used by the common agent, and then they make these light loads to make it manageable, and then they can't trust the guns to run. So along comes everyone's favorite Smith & Wesson.
I want to hate on them, but like my EDC is a Smith & Wesson, so
I can hate on them a little bit for doing what they did.
Well, for some things, yes.
Yes.
But that is my EDC.
They come along and say, "Hey, we can use the 10mm projectile. We'll just make a 3mm shorter case, design guns around that. It'll fit in 9mm size frames instead of, like the 45 size frames, bigger frames.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just call it 40 Smith & Wesson. We'll just do that. We'll make 40 Smith & Wesson a thing." And the FBI was like, "Yo, sounds good. We like it."
Does it though?
I can't even put into words how irritating it is that they did this, because they went back to the smaller frame guns, like the 9mm sized guns, with a 40 that has dramatically more recoil than a 9mm.
So putting it in a smaller frame
Yep.
will make it just have more recoil.
A ton of companies had issues making 40 Smith & Wesson guns because they're putting it in a 9mm size frame with a cartridge that creates way more pressure than 9mm, and was like Glock took like till their third generation to make a 40 cal that wasn't garbage.
Yeah.
Like 3 generations
you
of
look
Glocks.
at like compact handguns, like they're snappy as crap.
Yes.
Because there's
less mass.
Yeah. Like
exactly.
they're lighter, the barrel's smaller, like.
Yep. But they went with it. Okay. They wanted 40 Smith & Wesson, and
government efficiency, everybody.
I know. And then I don't know if y'all ever knew this, but a lot of police agencies around the country switched to 40 Smith & Wesson, away from 9mm, away from their revolvers, which, don't get me wrong, it's good to get away from revolvers in a service point of view, especially when like the military has been using 1911s, and in the 60s, 70s, 80s, our police still had revolvers.
Yeah.
Like, you could not be more outdated.
No. I mean, like, they're good, but not for...
They're overrated, but...
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're not... revolvers aren't bad.
Someone's going to hate that comment.
Oh,
like,
no, for
he
sure.
thinks revolvers are overrated? Yes. Yes.
I mean, like, they're nice to look at. They're nice guns.
They're fun to shoot.
Yeah,
I would never carry one.
But no.
Not ever.
No.
Maybe as like a backup ankle gun.
Because, I mean,
Maybe.
like, if I can have 13 rounds in my pocket, or 6,
take 13
I'm
every
going to
time.
go with 13.
I would honestly take 20 rounds of 22 over 6 rounds of 357 Magnum.
Yeah.
Easily. Easy equation for me. So anyways, they adopt 40 Smith & Wesson. Tons of agencies around the country switch to 40 Smith & Wesson and away from 10 mil. It's really just the FBI with 10 mil, but you know, everyone else switched to 40 Smith & Wesson. Nowadays, we're starting to see a lot of police agencies switch back to 9mm. FBI switch back to 9mm, but like local law enforcement as well. It's not just the federal. We'll call them quote unquote law enforcement.
Fed boys.
The Fed boys. 9mm is the rage, and it's because so much research and development has gone into 9mm that it's really, really efficient. You get good capacity, lighter weight, and fantastic ballistic performance out of all these new cartridges, federal HSTs, and even the Hydra-Shocks that are now considered outdated. They're fantastic hollow points. They're really reliable expansion. Wound channels are fantastic. Anyways, away from 9mm, today's about 10. So I found out, however, that some of the special teams in the FBI, like the hostage rescue team, and supposedly some other teams that it was kind of hard to verify, like 2021, is this true?
Yeah.
But supposedly they're still using these H&K MP5s chambered in 10 mil. Even when they moved to 40 Smith & Wesson, these teams kept their MP5s chambered in 10 millimeter.
Well, those teams are probably people with larger hands.
And experience.
And more training.
Using, yeah.
And who train
Isn't
more.
it weird how people who like have training and know how to use these firearms
and train
proficiently,
more often,
like aren't garbage?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Crazy.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, I have no idea. So this H&K MP5
this is just us roasting the FBI.
Well, they deserve getting roasted every once in a while. The MP5/10, very creative name from H&K, but they do not make this gun anymore. I'm very sad because I was hoping when they released the semi-automatic variant of the MP5 to the American civilian market, which is the SP5, I was really hoping they would release it in 10 mil too, but they have not. So like I said, I can't find a good bit of proof that these agencies are still using, like today, the MP5/10. But even though H&K discontinued the gun, they're still like publicly offering spare parts and repair support. So I'm willing to assume someone's still using it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be offering that if no one used it anymore.
I mean, you could just be like, hey, I need a part for my...
I need the receiver. All right, now I need a magazine. I need the barrel real quick. No, they're like, nah, give us the gun and we'll replace it. H&K would never send you anything out of the goodness of their heart.
H&K hates you.
H&K does hate you, but I love you, H&K. I love you despite the hate. I love the way you hate me. Love the way you lie to me. You're just like an abusive spouse.
Yeah.
That I just can't leave. I can't leave it. Like I cannot leave H&K. I don't even carry an H&K.
Roast you every time you look at their social media pages.
I only own one H&K. But I could not.
I have two though. That shotgun's H&K.
Okay, it's an H&K shotgun, but it's licensed to somebody else. Yeah, 1.5. It's HK licensed by Fabarm, which I've never heard of to that shotgun.
Yeah.
I was just blown away that it was a quote unquote H&K shotgun. But like I said, I don't think it's even slightly HK.
That's 1.5.
Let's say 1.25.
One in a logo.
One in a logo. There you go. The very first brand new handgun I ever bought. I'm going to specify that because I've bought many handguns before then. But the first brand new handgun I ever bought was an H&K USP9 Compact.
That thing's so nice.
It's so nice. And it's still in use today in a very specific role in the house.
That's very true.
Very specific role.
Yes.
You don't want to get broken into your house while you're pooping. It's got a great rust-resistant coating on there too, huh?
It does.
Okay, so now we're going to get into some statistics. I didn't want to mess that word up. Statistics.
I heard you carefully walk through that one.
Statistics. And this is not like this is kind of nerdy. So if it's not your thing, you can skip ahead. I love the nerdy stuff. This is like the part of the research I love, was actually finding like data, repeatable data. But a lot of people might hear this and go, okay, it just sounds like 10 millimeter is a 45 on steroids. And you're kind of correct, but you're also not. And this is why I'm going back to that whole.
It's kind of like a 45's a 10 millimeter that used to be on steroids.
No, that one seems really complicated. It seems like a really long way about saying they're not the same.
I mean,
10 millimeter is 40.
It's different.
Okay,
but
so
still same.
10 millimeter is 0.40, not 0.45. So already the diameters are not the same, but they're very comparable. They're kind of like associated with each other a lot in the gun world. The 10 millimeter, we're going to start off with some recoil. The 10 millimeter has more recoil than a 45. However, it's a very small jump. I found some data. I'm not going to get into the joules and newtons because I don't even fully understand that. Like I tried. I was going to include it in the podcast, but like I genuinely don't really understand like the energy measurements and how they work. How they relate to real life.
They're odd.
But from the data provided, it seems like 10 millimeter on average, and you're going to hear that a lot on this episode. On average. 10 millimeter on average.
Well, I mean, that's the data we're looking at is averages.
Yeah, well, they took 5 different loads of 10 millimeter and 5 different loads of 45. So they got 10 different cartridges, 5 and 5, and they just tested them throughout all these different variables and provided really, really good data. 10% more recoil. That's all. That's it. Oh, on average, 10% more recoil. In fact, I might be exaggerating a little bit. It might be 8 to 9%. But I rounded it to 10. So around 10% more recoil.
That seems like a massive overreaction to.
Yes.
And be like, oh, we can't handle this. Like, it's not that much.
I 100% concur that they were being dramatic babies. So, around 10% on average more recoil than a 45. Not that bad. I mean, you can shoot 45 one-handed accurately. So, once again, moving on. We see a higher velocity. And this isn't even on average. Like, it's always a higher velocity than 45. 45 is actually very slow. 45 is always subsonic. It's a very slow cartridge. But it's a big, fat projectile moving.
It's chunky.
And it hurt.
Yeah.
It do bad things when it hit you.
It gonna hurt.
It gonna hurt. It looks like there was a 20 to 30% increase in velocity on average out of 10 millimeter. 20 to 30% more velocity than 45 out of these rifle platforms. The first batch of testing was through rifles. I know we're talking about it as like a handgun cartridge, but it's in rifles. Yeah. And it's in carbines and it's in handguns.
I mean, 9 millimeters in rifles.
Exactly. So I thought it'd be more than 20 to 30%, but that's still a lot of velocity gain. And, speed beats armor. Velocity is important. You want more velocity. Yeah. Now, I don't expect 10 millimeter to punch through armor, but it's just a saying, speed good. Yeah. Speed do good.
Speed good.
Some loads of 10 millimeter hover around the 1,300 feet per second muzzle velocity out of a rifle, as opposed to 45's higher end cartridges on the velocity side being like barely over 1,000 feet per second out of a rifle. So that's pretty good. Yeah. Like, it's not that bad, especially when 45 is slow at around 1,000 out of a rifle. I know out of handguns it's dramatically different. Yeah. 20 to 30% increase is very, very impressive for something that fat. Handgun velocities, if I'm remembering correctly, and I could be wrong, I want to say on average, like 45 out of a 1911 is around 800 feet per second.
I don't know.
7 to 8. I want to say 7 to 8. And it's been a while since I've looked at I got a 45 cartridge box over there, but I don't care to go grab it. So you want velocity good. Well, with that higher velocity, we see better trajectories with around half of the bullet drop at 50 and 75 yards out of 10 millimeters. So if your 45 is dropping, let's say 10 inches at 75 yards, you can expect it to be around 4 or 5 inch drop instead out of the 10 mil.
Yeah.
So that's really, really good for trying to hit something past like your average 10 to 15 yards. I managed to find some long range testing, and I'm going to go long range, quote unquote, because it's long range for handgun cartridges.
Yeah.
It's not like 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
They were testing them around, man, it's not really long range. What was it? It was 100 yards. Okay, so they were testing out to 150. They tested it out to 150 yards, and both cartridges saw a very, very steep drop at 100 yards. Mm-hmm. And 150, of course, it's dropping like a rock at 100 yards. But the 10 millimeter still dropped around 4 inches less than the 45 they were testing at 100 yards. Mm-hmm. So that's not bad. Like you're almost cutting it in half. It's not at 100 yards. It's not exactly half, but it's almost half the drop at 100 yards. I don't recommend taking 100-yard 45 shots.
I wouldn't.
But if it's all you got, it's all you got. You know what I mean? I don't know what situation people
you gotta
are.
Run up close.
Yeah, do some Call of Duty. Yeah, you gotta run. Yeah, you got a 100-yard dash.
Yeah.
Right.
Just directly at him.
Yeah, you got a 100-yard dash. Take the shot, 100-yard dash back in case you missed.
Yeah.
You can't take a follow-up shot.
No. Just one shot.
You get one. You get one shot. Non-negotiable. So with kinetic energy, they're a little closer. They're a little more similar than with the velocity. But with the like 180 and 175 grain loads for 10 millimeter out of the batch they were testing, they had about 200 foot-pounds more muzzle energy than the high end for 45. So once again, this is out of a rifle, but
do you know the barrel length?
I don't. I'm gonna assume 16 inches, and it's got to be 16 inches plus.
Yeah.
Carbines. They did do some carbine testing. I didn't include it in this because it was very much the same.
Yeah.
Like everything was a little less because the barrel length was shorter, so everything was a little less. But there was still that 20 to 30% gap in velocity. There was still that 10% recoil. Like it was very consistent.
Yeah.
Everything was slightly slower.
Yeah.
It's a shorter barrel, but 200 foot-pounds more muzzle energy than 45 is very good. Muzzle energy is what everyone wants to call knockdown power, stopping power, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. This is that's muzzle energy. You want more muzzle energy. The more you can retain, the better. And it retained it at 50 and 75 yards a little better than 45 as well, which is interesting. But energy is very load dependent. Like it's very load dependent. Like what's the projectile? What powder are they using? What is that?
I don't know.
Man, that's a little irritating. Some beeping going on. So very, very load dependent because you can get 10 millimeter that's very similar energy to 45. Like you can get a low end 10 millimeter that is very similar to like the average or high end 45. But on average, 10 millimeter is much higher kinetic energy or muzzle energy than 45. Accuracy. I don't care what they said on their accuracy testing because it's so dependent on so many factors that I don't think that's something we can just outright say. So I didn't include it in this. Accuracy and precision is completely down to like so many factors. The load you use and what are you comparing it to? The firearm you're shooting it out of.
The shooter.
I mean, the environment. So I don't want to go ahead and put anything out there about 10 mil versus 45 accuracy based.
How the shooter's feeling that day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've shot 45s that will, there are tons of 45 1911s that will outshoot the shooter.
Yeah.
Like the shooter can only get so good, but you put it in a vise and it's a tack driver.
Right.
And there are the exact opposite. There are 10 mils and 45s that low tolerance or bad tolerances and bad manufacturing quality, and it shoots like crap.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can put a crappy gun in a professional's hands, and it's going to shoot like a dream. And you can put they're going to shoot it like a dream.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and then like you can get a super expensive gun and put it in like my hands, and it's going to shoot like crap.
You're better than you think, but I mean, our 1911 45, it's not exactly it may be a tack driver. I've never had any accuracy issues out of it, but I'm much better at shooting a rifle than a handgun.
Yeah.
I mean, I can hit 3-inch targets at 30, 40, 50 yards, but I mean, it's tough, especially with the 45 that's dropping already at 50 yards. But like, I mean, I've never had any accuracy issues out of it. So I don't want to talk about accuracy when it comes to these two cartridges. I'm very happy with the possible performance out of both of them. I don't think there's much more to say. I mean, I don't know why they included it in their data though. I'm not going to say who it was because I don't want people to go upset anybody.
Yeah.
Their data was super solid, and then they started talking about accuracy, and it was just kind of like, I'm gonna stay away from that part of it.
Yeah.
And they're not the only ones I pulled data from. They just happen to be one of the ones that had some of the best, and like they went really hard with their data. It was I really don't want to. I want to give them credit, right? But because they're not the only ones I pulled data from, but they worked so hard on it.
Yeah.
I was gonna give a hint, but the hint would just sound awful, so I'm not gonna do it. The hint would sound like really bad, but it's the only hint I can think of. You guys can find it if you search 10 millimeter and 45 auto ballistic testing or comparison. You can find many different data sheets and reports. There's one specifically that I think did an amazing job. I just don't care for their accuracy testing. That's it. So, availability and choice. Availability and choice. Hearing all of that, Caroline, would you say you wanted a 10 mil?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sounds pretty good, right?
Good luck.
Well, okay. Pre-apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been wanting one for a while, but I can never make a decision on which one I wanted. Like, did I want to get a cheap one just to have one, then upgrade it over time? Like, maybe a cheap Rock Island 1911. You could build that up over time, right? Or do I want to go hard and get like a less bear, $3,000 1911? Well, less bear is not that expensive. Well, they can be.
Yeah.
But you can get something like I think 1800. I think I could be wrong. Haven't looked at less bears in a while.
It's more expensive than your 1911.
Yeah, my 1911 she got for a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And I'm super happy with it though. The Emperor Scorpion's a really good buy for anyone looking into
That's fantastic.
current 1911s. If you can't decide between like Kimber and like the $1,300.
Because I went through. Because when you like gave me your list, I went through I knew I was going to get you a 1911, and I went through several. I was like looking at YouTube videos on these specific ones, like doing research, and that was just seemed like the best option, and I'm really glad I went with it.
I think it is actually. I've shot a lot of 1911s, and when you're looking at the let's just say $1,000 to $1,300 price range, you're looking at Springfields, you're looking at Kimbers, you're looking at a couple. Smith & Wesson has some in that price range. But I think I honestly, and the guys, this is not, I don't care just because I own it, but like I've shot a lot of them, and in that price range, I would take SIG's 1911s every time.
Yeah, because I was like, it ended up being between Kimber and the SIG, and I mean, really, what it came down to was the rails that come on the SIG.
That's one good pro. One thing,
they were both really good.
Yeah.
But
one thing that bothers me, or that I love about the SIG, is it has an external extractor, and to a lot of people, it doesn't really matter. Like the Army used an external extractor in the first generation, then with the 1911 A1, they switched to the internal extractor.
See, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, I'm just a huge fan of the external extractors. I like that system more.
I lucked out.
Yeah, you lucked out on that one. Most other companies do not use an external extractor. I like the straight grip too, instead of the big bobbed. I don't think it's called bobbed. I forget what the mainspring housing is called when it's pushed out a little further. I don't like that, and SIG. So SIG has like this hybrid of like 1911 and 1911 A1 components, and that's why I love it. I think you get a lot of good features out of their 1911s for a really reasonable price.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, like looking at the features on the specific model Kimber one that I was looking at, and the Emperor Scorpion, like they were pretty similar.
It'd be cooler if it was a 10 mil though. Not complaining, just that'd be amazing.
That would be cool.
Anyways, so about 10 years ago, this conversation would be moot. That's a dumb word. This conversation would be pointless. There we go. Because 10 years ago, anybody who lived in the boonies could be like, well, I can't find 10mm ammo worth of crap, or it's not affordable to shoot, or just my gun shops just don't carry them. So like, what's the point? As of pre-gunpocalypse, and I hate that I have to say this every episode, but like before the gunpocalypse, that statement was no longer true.
You could just say like in 2019.
In 2019-ish, because the end of 2019 was pretty crazy too.
Yeah.
10mm was almost the exact same price as 45, and it was consistent across the board. Like the 10 millimeter full metal jackets and the 45 full metal jackets were within a few cents of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the always more expensive self-defense loads.
Yeah.
Those are always more expensive, but they were still within like maybe $1 of each other. I mean, I was like, man, it's the same thing to shoot now. Like the price is the same. The guns are a little more expensive on average. I'm not going to get into that.
And with like the bigger box stores being in more places now,
like Academy Sports.
Like, you got Academy, Walmart when they used to sell ammo.
Blah.
Yeah.
But like Academy Sports and then Cabela's and Bass Pro have been really pushing to expand.
Yeah.
I mean, in the small towns we live near.
Because did Bass Pro buy Cabela's?
Yes,
or did
Bass Pro.
Okay, I couldn't remember who bought
Cabela's.
who.
Yeah.
But
No, there's a Cabela's within like 30 minutes of us, which growing up was never 45. Either way, growing up that wasn't the case.
No.
So now, I mean, you got options.
Yeah.
Hopefully, guys, I really don't think the ammo is ever going to come back. I know might be a dumb thing to say, but when I say like ever come back, I mean where it was. I mean, you could buy 9mm Fiocchi, 115 grain, 50 round boxes for like $7.50.
Yeah.
All the time, all day long. I don't think we're going to get back to that. Even if the ammo.
People dislike Fiocchi.
I love Fiocchi.
I don't understand.
If you have problems with Fiocchi, don't at me. You're just wrong. You don't know anything about ammo.
It's so clean.
It's clean and it's consistent. And
yeah.
Like, why would I shoot Remington or Winchester 9mm when I can shoot Fiocchi for the same price? It's cleaner and it's more reliable and consistent.
Just takes me half the time to clean out
do
my gun.
not at me.
I mean, especially just for target practice.
Yeah, you're just target practicing.
Yeah.
Back to 10mm.
I'm sorry.
Deviant.
I'm sorry.
Just chit-chat.
You said Fiocchi.
Anyways, I don't think we're going to see those prices come back to where they were in 2019, 2018. At least not for the foreseeable future. I don't see it within the next 5-6 years. I don't think it's possible. I think we're going to continue to see really, really expanding prices and limiting of supply till who knows when or what happens. I have no idea.
I mean, if the company's like, I'm sure they've started trying to keep up with it more.
Oh, they've put out videos saying, please stop harassing us. We're trying our hardest.
Yeah. So, I
That's
mean,
not
like,
exactly what they were saying, but.
Yeah. But, like, I feel like it'll come back. Like, we'll have not necessarily as much as we did, but, like, it won't be sold out. There won't be a line wrapped around Academy Sports when they open on their truck days.
Maybe.
You know?
I mean,
it's probably still going to be expensive, but I feel like we'll probably get some of the quantity back.
I just saw a statement today from maybe in Winchester or may have been the company that owns a couple of the ammo groups, but they were saying you need to expect to see a 10 to 15% price increase in Federal, CCI, Winchester, Blazer, I think, which is owned by CCI. A couple of these different companies that are all kind of owned by the same parent company.
Yeah.
They're saying you're going to expect to see a 10 to 15% price increase on all these.
Yeah.
Now, I may have I read it pretty quickly. It may have just been like on primers, but I think it was on all ammo from those companies.
Supply and demand, if they're...
Well, that's the thing. No one can even reload anymore because the companies are trying their hardest to buy.
Yeah, so I'm saying, like, if they're spending more money to get stuff in, the prices are going to go up.
I don't know where it's going to go. All I know is it used to buying, 10mm and 45 were the same. Pretty much the same price. And now, with all these companies making 10mm, it's very easy to find a 10mm gun that you like versus 10, 15 years ago. And I'm going to say this one last time for the episode. I promise this is the last time I'm saying it. This is pre-gunpocalypse, okay? You had 1911s in 10mm, Glocks in 10mm, SIGs were being made in 10mm.
Just get a sign, asterisk.
XD handguns made in Croatia.
Pre-gunpocalypse.
I do need to get a pre-gunpocalypse sign. The XD handguns made in Croatia. The Chris, so that's all handguns. You see the Chris Vector on the really expensive end. CMMG Banshee pistol caliber AR. Even high point carbines were being made in 10mm, which blows my mind how those things were they didn't blow up.
Yeah.
But all these things were being made in 10mm, and the ammo was comparable to 45 in price and availability. I want it now. I just can't justify if this gunpocalypse does go away, which I really hope it does. I hope I'm wrong.
We all do.
I want a 10mm really bad. Yeah. I don't know what I would buy. Probably a 1911 first, but I'd like to have a carbine. I think the CMMG Banshee would be amazing in 10mm. It's like a roller delayed blowback. No, it's not just roller delayed. I think it's like a half roller delayed. I'll have to look into that system again. I know it's not direct blowback. I know it's delayed in some way, but I'd love to see a 10 millimeter CZ Scorpion. That would be amazing.
That'd be really cool.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's possible. I think the bolt would have to be too heavy. I think it'd have to be like a 3 or 4 pound bolt just alone. I could be wrong on the. I'm just guesstimating on like from like my gunsmith brain, like how would they make that work? Because it's a direct blowback gun.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure on 10 mil. That thing is stout. So I don't know if a polymer PCC could handle 10 mil as direct blowback. Maybe it could. I don't know. I don't know what they'd have to do that. But I honestly would die for a 10 millimeter CZ Scorpion.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. But I really don't think it would work.
I could replace my car gun with that.
You really could.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, your car gun's good.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
No, I love it.
But
that'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing. And I think the CZ Scorpion barely kicks as a 9mm. I think it could really handle, like, I don't think the recoil would be too bad.
Not at all.
For a 10 millimeter or 45. I mean, it'd be more. Don't get me wrong.
Well, yeah.
For sure.
But I mean, like, as a 9mm, like,
I think it'd still be enjoyable.
It's nothing.
I wonder if it would beat up optics really bad, like the Scar does. The Scar the 7.62 Scar destroys optics.
Yeah.
You have to get like Scar rated optics now.
Oh.
The recoil.
Yeah.
And the vibration just beats the piss out of optics.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm down to. I think I have said my spiel. I'd like to open up the chat to any more comments that want to be answered or any imperative statements while you're at it. So just so you guys know, we actually were originally planning on cutting out the comments from the audio versions of the podcast, but I think that's kind of rude. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I was really wanting to have like the comments be like their own thing for the live stream. Yeah. But I think if someone asks a really good question that either I was going to say but I forgot to, or they bring a point of view I wasn't even thinking about, I think it's kind of important to leave those in the podcast.
Yeah.
So even on Spotify and
somebody
Google,
else has that question.
Yeah. But man, I genuinely can't get over thinking about a 10 millimeter CZ Scorpion. Just makes me happy. Like, that would be my favorite gun. Mm-hmm. Man, I want a 10 millimeter. I want one so bad. I want ammo to go down.
Yeah.
I did an ammo count recently, and I'm very disappointed in myself. I thought I was collecting ammo a lot better than I was. Not to say I have no ammo. That's not true. But man, I should have been. You
should have panic bought like everybody else.
I should have panic bought back in like 2010.
Yeah.
I should have been collecting. I mean, I go shooting all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I shoot my ammo, and I think what it was is in 2019 I went shooting more than any other year. And
I was shooting a lot.
I went shooting a lot in 2019, and I wasn't buying ammo to replace what was being shot at a good rate.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of the times we would get it, like, when we went.
Yeah.
Like, we would stop.
True.
Either at a store or just get it from the range, like if we went to an indoor range. But
the issue is we were taking people to go shoot.
Yeah.
Almost every time we went shooting in 2019, we were teaching somebody how to shoot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, which is good.
It's good. It's great to teach people how to shoot and get them into the community.
Replenishing our ammo.
I didn't charge anyone to go shooting with us, and I should have.
Yeah.
I should have charged every single person, family or friend, money, ammo money.
A box of ammo.
I never did. And that's the new rule. If I take anyone to go shooting, they're paying a premium. They're paying 2021 prices for ammo. I can't do this anymore. I can't just go shooting willy-nilly.
Yeah. Which
sucks because I mean, like, I've been dry firing more just to get more trigger time.
Yeah. It's
depressing. Like, I need to go shooting. But I look at my ammo storage and I'm like, dude, you can't go shooting. You don't have shooting money. Like, you just don't. But if there's no comments today,
there's not.
All right. Nope. Once again, make sure you follow, I guess, on YouTube at subscribe. Mm-hmm. Subscribe, like, share. Sharing would help so much, guys. If you could share the video, We'd really, really appreciate
because
it.
the page is so small.
The page is small. If you could share it and get us out there, we'd really, really appreciate it. Anyone who's watching, share it to your friends. Anyone who likes gun content, just show them. We're going to be doing this every single Sunday, hopefully always at 6:30. Last week we did it at 4, but 6:30 is going to be the standard time on Sunday evenings, Eastern time, by the way. But also, I want to put this kind of a call to action out there for anyone who's still watching, still listening. I'm currently working on an episode for overrated cartridges, and I find that to be a lot harder to make than the underrated cartridges. I know tons of cartridges that are underrated, but overrated is a little harder. It requires a little more critical thinking, a little more real in-depth looks at why would this ammo be called overrated. So what I was thinking about doing was, if anybody has any opinions on one cartridge that they think is overrated, please drop it in the comments. Please send the email. Like, I want to hear from you guys. I already have 3 cartridges that I've chosen.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to leave the last 2 cartridges to the viewers/listeners. I'm going to let them pick a cartridge that they truly think is overrated.
Yeah. So, I mean, they can leave it in the comments on social media, email.
They can leave it at Instagram, at TBR Gunworks. They can go to Facebook.
TBR_Gunworks.
If you search TBR Gunworks, it works. So mad about that underscore. But yeah, like, just find a way to contact us and give us your opinion on what you think is an overrated cartridge. I'm going to give everyone a heads up on, real quick, what do I think is one of them? And if you've been listening to us for the past 3 episodes, you already know one that I think is overrated. Caroline, can you take a guess at what one cartridge I think might be overrated?
I don't
think real hard. Even today's episode, it's not 10 mil.
Well, I mean,
but what other cartridge did we mention today?
40 Smith & Wesson.
40 Smith & Wesson. Yeah. That's gonna be on the list. So don't say 40 Smith & Wesson when you pitch in your opinion on what you think is overrated.
So some comments just showed up.
Oh, really? Did someone ask a question? We get the big question.
No. Alyssa said, I've seen things about people being mad at Smith & Wesson, but I couldn't figure out why.
That's a long list of reasons.
And then we got various reasons.
Yeah,
I don't know why that wasn't showing up the entire time this has been up.
Spigs is correct. There are various reasons why people are upset at Smith & Wesson. 40 Smith & Wesson is one of them. A couple other reasons are their, let's just say, business management choices. Probably the nicest way to put that. Yeah. You can look into that. It will not take you long to figure out why Smith & Wesson is not universally loved. I think that's the easiest way to put that. I don't want to just sit here and just, hammer on people. I've already given Smith & Wesson enough crap today. But, just dropping comments.
Well, I mean, they literally, I was going back and forth and nothing was coming up, but just now apparently it decided to come up.
Interesting.
I mean, there's not many, but there's
Wi-Fi be like. We're going to go. Wow, man, I just struggle bust my way through that last sentence.
Words are hard.
Words are hard. English is only my first language. We're going to go ahead and end it there. Remember, drop a comment, leave a like, share if you can. Think about what you think is the most overrated cartridge. It will not be the next episode. You have time to think about it and get back to us. Next week's episode will be happening once again, Sunday, 6:30 Eastern. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. It's Sunday, actually, so have a good week. Not a rest of your week, because it just it's starting today.
Just now starting.
Yeah. Does the calendar actually start on Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm really bad at just being an adult and existing in a regular world.
It happens.
Oh, man. I'm going to go eat some food now.
That sounds great.
Does it sound great? You going to cook?
Yeah.
You're pregnant. I'd hope you'd be cooking. Provide that baby with some solid nourishment.
Well, she's hungry, so.
Well, I'm hungry, but I'm just your husband.
She kicks me when she's hungry, so.
Thanks for listening. Wow, I am.
Words are hard.
Boy, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening / watching.
Oh, I'm gonna have a stroke. I gotta say it.
You gotta say it.
I don't know if I can.
Listening.
Thanks for listening / watching The Ready Room Podcast by TBR Gunworks with my amazing, capable speaking wife, pregnant wife, very preggers, Caroline,
Very preggers.
and myself. We hope to see you next time. Stay safe.